Hello, 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 friends. Nicholas here with DIVO-Ted Talks, devoted talks where we take ancient wisdom and practices through a modern lens and experience to help you and those you love in suffering in your personal and greater worlds alike. And whoo, 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 it is firing up outside, it is firing up inside, and it is summer, 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 right? You're going to be catching this right after the summer solstice. And so, albeit the days will be getting shorter again, when I'm filming this, the days are getting longer and I can feel the energy. It wakes me up in the morning. It gets me going. As a Kapha person, it keeps me invigorated, right? It helps me utilize Kapha in the right ways. Now, why am I saying this? Because in Ayurveda, it is prudent in Ritucharya, which is seasonal, to do cleanses at the precipice of season changes, right? So that you get rid of the excess dosha of that particular season. Now, that is true, but it has to be relative to whatever climate you live in. And there's different doshas, which is what the climates are labeled as in the Ayurvedic compendium. But there's tropical climates, there are seasonal climates that are more temperate. And so being able to identify what climate you're in, your doshic type, and your propensity based on your lifestyle to have higher dosha one way or another. Panchakarma is a great way to do that, but you can also do mild at-home cleanses that are easy to self-administer under the guidance of someone like myself or another practitioner. There are general, very mild ones that you can do through books that Dr. Lada's printed, but guidance is better because if something changes in the middle of it, you don't have anybody to really bounce questions off of in real time. And so it would be more advantageous to do that. So if you have questions or thoughts about Ayurveda and you're not quite sure, I briefly talk about it on this podcast, but if you want to, go check out Ayurveda Digested to go find out more. It is the top 17 podcasts on Ayurveda in the world. Just saying, just saying. Anyway, season changes are good demarcations for shifts in our habits, shifts in our ways of taking care of ourselves, because different doshas are going to be present. And based on our personal constitution, our pakruti and our vikruti will influence it in different ways. I feel fantastic at the early fall as summer's breaking and it starts to cool down because I have built up so much pitta that it's good to have that relief and get the wind kind of blow that stuff out and around. But then by late fall, my kapha is struggling because it's so dry that my water amount can't keep up. So then I become very brittle and I become very earthy because the water is now gone. So it's an interesting juxtaposition when you know your dosha and you start to see the influences around you. Super high humidity days are hard for me sometimes because then I'm starting to sweat, but there's also heat involved. So there's pitta. And so balance can become a little bit of a dance in the summer for me, especially owning a hot yoga studio where I'm in a room that's 105 degrees for, 3 to 5 hours in a day. And so that can be its own form of challenging. Now, back to what I'm talking about. Summer is here. Days are elongating when I'm recording this. Days will be starting to get shorter, but there's still going to be all of that residual sun energy in the world because this spring has been all about growing and becoming more. Although my area has been in a drought. A couple of days ago, we had 1.7 inches of rain, which is a lot at one time. So I experienced a lot of flooding in my backyard, but it did help hydrate things that have been so much so that the deer came out and ate my hostas. I'm a little bit bitter about it. Just saying. Anyway. Summer is really about productivity and it's about being out there. And if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, it's different right now. And that's beautiful, right? You understand your seasons based on the way you're doing it. And so paying attention to your season will influence what your experience is. Now, Pitta people are going to be the most sensitive in summer, whereas Vata could go either way. And Kaphas are going to be doing really well. Spring is very Kaphic. Summer is going to burn through all that excess kapha that you got in spring and late winter and bring me alive. I'm going to trim up. I'm going to be really just alive, but I do have to be careful about how much pitta I'm getting, how much time I'm spending in the sun. And so one of the best ways to have a clean slate is to every season or every quarter do a cleanse, and you do a cleanse with the herbs and or seasonal foods that are appropriate to balance and harmonize with that season that you're going into or that quarter that you're going into. Now, in a tropical climate, it's pretty consistent all the time, but there is still a little bit of shift in the sun. I'm more of a temperate area, and so I do have seasons. I had winter this year. Past 2 years, we had very mild winters. So it's been interesting. I love it. We've had a lot of hot days and then back down to cool days. So it'll be interesting to see what happens the rest of the summer. But that's not the point. The point is at the demarcation of the season, you are taking the time to push out all the excess dosha that's not supposed to be there, so you have a fresh constitution to operate within the world. And then during that season, the appropriate dosha will either be harmonized or will be going into excess, to which once that season's over, you then purge it via a mild cleanse, a less mild cleanse, up to a full panchakarma. Panchakarma can be very expensive, but I've seen it work miracles on people, and so I'm a huge proponent. Ayurveda in itself is a miracle to me. So what should you do with this? First of all, schedule an assessment with me, and I can talk you through what your constitution is. Those online quizzes aren't very great because you're answering it based on what you think the right answer is or what you think you are in the moment, rather than an assessment externally unbiased as to what is expressing. Right? There's darshana, where I'm looking at you. I see your actions. I see your skin pallor. I see your features, right? I have very Kaphic features. I've got a nice, cool color to my skin. My nose and ears are robust. My bones and my musculature is robust, right? Hair everywhere is what Dr. Lod says. So I used to think I was Pitta because I followed through with a lot of fiery things, but that had a lot to do with my actions and my vikruti, rather than the actual thing, my actual constitution, which was my pakruti, which I was born with, right? Your genetic code, your genetic encoding, doshically. So schedule a time with me, divo@divowellness.com. Let's do it, divo@divowellness.com. But then we can talk about what would be appropriate for you, getting you through the season effectively. If you're a Pitta person, it's going to be one thing. If you're a Vata person, it's going to be another. And if you're a Kapha predominant, it's a completely different one. And then if you're a mix of them, it can be very unique, right? Everybody is super unique. Our expression of consciousness, even when we have the same pakruti as somebody, can still express very differently based on the amount of elements within our body. And the amount of elements are in our body based on the season and our parents and their actual mental states, their physical states at the time of your conception. So my friends, these things are very important, but then going through what season you're in as well to be able to identify strengths, weaknesses, and where you can ride the wave high and avoid your lows and your troughs. All right. My friends, I wish you a happy and a safe summer, and I will talk to you soon. Be well and be free.